drunk when I narrated it. Do you remember? I had my face almost submerged in a bowl of tomato soup.
In Hawaii.
In Hawaii.
Right.
And I was like this.
We were recording, so yeah, that's what it is. But it wasn't long after that Dominic went to go on after narrating our film. He went to work for National Geographic, and you did The Devil's Bible.
Oh, right. That's
Remember
right.
that?
Yeah.
And you narrated that. That was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, that's a Bible in which there's like the story of the devil kind of hidden in the middle of it, and it's supposed to be like a cursed book.
Giga Codex.
Yeah, the Giga Codex.
Yes.
But I think I've been very lucky over the years with doing voiceovers. But, I mean, if you're talking about someone that has a treacly molasses-type voice, I mean, Billy, just
Fly
say something.
me to the moon,
Right?
and let me sleep upon the stars. I've only had 2 drinks. 2 mouthfuls and I'm singing.
Why has he not got a residency at Vegas? Do you know what I mean? He should be doing some Vegas hotel at this point.
I would. I mean, it wouldn't take much. It would not take much for this audience to start putting dollars in your G-string.
I can't wait.
Billy. It wouldn't take much. It's really
But
lovely.
here's the thing about the OneRing.net is when we were making Lord of the Rings and we just started making it and everything was incredibly secret and we were traveling all over New Zealand and this was at a time when internet cafes had just started.
Oh, yeah.
Where you go to a cafe.
The internet cafe explosion.
Yeah.
Yes.
And me and Dom, and we were in little towns in New Zealand, we'd go to an internet cafe to go on to the One Ring to see what you guys knew.
You did.
Honestly, we used to go on and watch that. It was brilliant.
I remember, as a fan of The Lord of the Rings and also being in it, seeing some leaked footage of the paparazzi having taken an image of a black rider, and it was just on the top of some bluff somewhere, and someone had shot an image of it. Yeah. And I was thinking, oh my God, that's really exciting. And I thought, you're actually in the film with black riders. You don't need to be finding this information out from the One Ring. But you guys were the go-to place that we went to, and you're the first guy to break Billy in the cast. You're the first guy to break me in the cast, you know, so...
Yeah, that's right, we were.
You guys get the job done.
We did. You know what, when it comes to the news, there's a lot of other people who are breaking the news on the new Amazon series, and there's a lot of other YouTube content creators and other websites, and you know they're telling us who the new directors are and where they're shooting locations, and you know at some point we're trying to play catch up a little bit with some of the other bits of news that we're getting, but nobody but the One Ring is actually getting Barry Osborne and you guys and Mark Ordesky to come back for the 20-year anniversary show. So, you know, we're still the old grandfather clock in the room, you know.
I think, I think Pete really loved you as well, you know. I mean, Pete is aware that he makes films that have a lot of spoilers attached to them. Yeah. You guys were always super respectful of not revealing spoilers because as fans, you wanted people to see that too. Yeah. You had a great relationship with him. You were respectful of his job to keep secrets. So I think having Pete as your ally opens up everyone else because we probably wouldn't have been able to do it if Pete had said, please don't speak to anyone. Yeah. But over the years, you know, Pete has obviously said, hey, it's great, go talk to the One Ring. They were the place that we liked the most, you know.
Absolutely. Oh, my God.
Star Wars is on. Star Wars Strikes Back, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I met Harrison Ford, like, at an awards show years ago.
You did?
And
is he as uncomfortable? Like he
was
he's
nice.
Always uncomfortable.
He was nice. We were backstage. I was giving some award out. I think he was doing the same. And I said to my agent, first time ever. Actually, not first time ever. But no, I don't do it that often. I said to him, I'm going to have to go over and speak to Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I did the same with David Bowie when I was lucky enough to meet him. And my agent was like, are you sure? Because I think, you know, maybe he can be a bit prickly. I was like, no, I'll go in and I'll go out really quick, you know, super fast. So I went over to him and said, Mr. Ford, I just want to say, like, you're one of the reasons that I became an actor and I've loved everything that you've done. And he said, oh, great, how's it working out? And I said, it's working out okay. And he said, cool, keep it up. And then he walked to do his award. And that was all I needed. I just needed a little kind of nod from Han Solo or Indiana Jones to say, right, you're doing the right thing, you know.
That's great. That is so great. When I saw him at the Oscars, he looked so uncomfortable. He looked like he did not want to be there at all at
I
the
think,
Oscars.
I mean, how long has he been in the business? Over 50 years. He's probably at a point where he's like, really?
Yeah.
I don't need this, you know. I'll do it because I'm nice, but I don't need to do it. That building, Union Square Station, was the place where they shot a massive amount of footage from Blade Runner. So for
That's
him to
right.
be in that building
Yes.
is amazing because, 45 years ago, whatever, he's swinging from the rafters with Rutger Hauer.
In Blade Runner, that's right, at
What a
Union
movie.
Station. Wild. That is so wild. Now,
Oh, you can see Mark Hamill here after he's had his motorcycle accident. You can see his face is covered in fake scars and some real scars from having a pretty significant motorcycle
That's
accident
right.
and needing facial reconstructive surgery.
he sure did. That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. A lot of people say that his face never looked exactly the same after
I don't
that.
think it ever did, Rick, but he's still a chunky bar of chocolate, you know?
No, a delicious chocolate.
This is the kind of stuff that you'll get on the podcast.
Right.
These kind of facts from Dom.
Yeah.
You'll get that every week.
Yeah, it's true.
Every week on the Friendship Onion,
The
ladies and
Friendship
gentlemen, on
Onion.
the Friendship Onion.
The new
It's true.
podcast from Dom Monahan and Billy Boy.
Like, for instance, here's a little bit of a little tidbit of information that you might not know.
Yeah.
Sean Astin kept a list, a number tally of how many times he put the feet on and they weren't photographed. He kept a tally so that later on in the production he can say, guys, I've gone through feet 120 times and you've not even seen them, as a way to like have a little bargaining chip, you know.
Oh,
It's true.
I see. Now, now the thing about old Lord of the Rings stories, and we'll just do a couple of them. If we just bear with me, we'll do a couple of little old Lord of the Rings stories. And yes, and then we'll talk about X-Men, and then we'll talk about Star Wars and all that other stuff. But the fans of that Scottish romantic fantasy show that you've starred in, Outlander. So many fans of Outlander. There are so many fans. Hey, anybody, raise your hand if you've seen Billy Boyd lift up his kilt. Anybody? Raise your hand. Everyone has seen Billy lift his kilt? Yeah? No?
I think you should grow that ponytail.
you know what?
I think you look lovely in that ponytail.
Do you know what? An Outlander, when my agent came and said, you know, Outlanders, there's a part.
Yeah.
And I obviously imagined myself in a kilt on the back of a horse riding into battle.
Yeah.
At Culloden or somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, he was like a weaselly little lawyer who didn't
Yeah.
even wear a kilt, and he was a horrible guy.
He was.
But I enjoyed playing it, though.
Did you like playing a bad guy for once?
I did. It was really good
Like-
fun. And it's such a lovely set.
Yeah.
The people who are there every week are just so lovely, and they've got it worked out so great. And it's so great for Scotland. They have these lovely sound studios and things now that they wouldn't have had. So it's been wonderful for the Scottish film industry as well.
Can I ask a couple of kilt questions?
Carry on, sir.
How many kilts do you own?
I think I own, at the moment, 4 kilts.
Quite a lot. And
Do you want to know what they are?
Yeah, go on.
Right.
I assume one is your family crest.
One is my family, my clan, which is the Royal Stuart. The other is I've got an ancient tartan for my clan, the Boyd.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Lovely.
Wow.
And then I have 2 made by a wonderful kilt maker called 21st Century Kilts, who will make you kilts in denim or pinstripe or tweed. It doesn't have to be
Nice.
tartan or plaid.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 from him as well.
And then the follow-up, if you don't mind a follow-up.
Carry on.
On what occasion would you wear a kilt now?
Now, there's a good question, actually, because I don't wear it as much
Yeah,
as
I've
I
not
used
seen you
to.
in a kilt that much.
When I first moved to London as a young actor,
Yes.
I used to wear the kilt every day.
Really?
I loved it. I think it, it just made you stand out a little bit, I suppose. But I'll wear a kilt.
Yeah, I mean, New Year's Eve, Billy and I hung out. Billy and his wife and son were my COVID bubble throughout last year's craziness that we all went through.
Yeah.
I didn't see them until probably getting on for September or August, something like that. But at that point, once it was made clear you can have a small COVID bubble if you've all been tested.
Yeah.
I saw Billy and his wife and son. And on New Year's Eve, we did a kind of Scottish dinner. Billy made haggis, and we did the whole
Homemade haggis.
homemade
Really?
haggis, vegetarian haggis. It was
Oh,
lovely.
wow. Okay, cool.
And then we did
Cool.
this. Can you explain the thing in Scotland where you leave the house and you come back in?
Oh, there's a thing, it's at New Year. It's called first footing.
First footing.
Yes. And the first person who walks into your house after the New Year is called your first foot. Right?
Oh, yes.
And it should
okay.
be somebody tall, dark, and handsome.
I would think so. I hope so. If I'm lucky.
We didn't have one of them.
We didn't have one of them, so we got Tom. and they should bring with them a bottle of whiskey, something to eat, like some shortbread, and a piece of coal. And that way you'll always have something to drink, something to eat, and you'll have warmth in your house the whole year.
That's excellent.
You should do that this New Year's.
I will.
Oh,
I
you
will
promise
have to.
you'll do it?
I will. Yes, I want to go over those details. The shortbread and
A bottle of whiskey
a bottle of whiskey
and a piece of coal.
and a piece of coal.
Coal
Yeah.
or, a
Yeah,
piece of
coal.
wood to burn in the fire.
To be burned in the fire. Yeah. Excellent. I
And
love that.
you just walk outside at like 2 minutes to, and then when the bells go, you knock on the door and
Yes.
you walk in.
Oh, that's
And
so
we did that
perfect.
with Tom.
All brings like luck and affluence and good health and all that kind of stuff. It's wonderful.
Do you know what? Speaking of, Greg, would you grab my backpack for me, please, right back there? It's there on the ground by you. That's it. Yeah, there you go. I promised you something, didn't I? I promised you something, and here it is. Thank you for being so
I
patient.
got a backpack
You
as a
mentioned
present.
it. You mentioned
Cliff,
something important to me. Wait. Who's calling my name? Oh, I promised
Oh,
you.
shorties.
Ladies and gentlemen, I promised him his favorite biscuits. I got the shortbread.
I do love a piece of shortbread.
They're so good. I had to
Oh.
get you some.
Thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you.
very kind.
It's
Thank
the
you.
only stuff we have in America that comes close to what you might have.
It's very
Do you know
good.
the secret as to why shortbread is so good?
Lots of butter.
Butter.
Lots of butter.
It is almost like 75% butter, isn't
Isn't it like
And who doesn't
Kerrygold?
love butter? Come on.
You want Kerrygold, right?
Hey,
Yeah.
Cliff,
Yeah.
Cliff, we
Kerrygold.
got a couple questions from the chat.
Hold on, we have questions coming in from the live
Hello!
chat. What is
For-
it, Justin?
First off, Dom, the chat wants to know: are you watching Empire?
I am watching Empire right now. Yeah, it's on a couple of screens. It's May the 4th. I was going to go home tonight and watch Rogue One, which I think is one of my favorites.
Yes, Rogue One. Yes. Rogue One.
Rogue One. I
Yes.
mean, Empire gets the top. Then probably A New Hope. I think Rogue One is third on the list. I think it's a superb film.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm going to go home and watch that.
I'll
You
agree
know,
with that.
It's so crazy to think about Princess Leia, and I was lucky enough to work with her daughter on the last Star Wars film. But
Yes.
I remember watching Star Wars as a kind of 7, 8-year-old boy and thinking, I feel something about Princess Leia that I've not felt before. It's not the same with Han Solo. Han Solo's cool, and I want to hang out with him and maybe protect me. But maybe I want Princess Leia to like kiss me on my mouth and tell me everything's going to be all right, you know? I've never had that sensation
God.
before.
Do you know what? I was actually daydreaming about C-3PO. I thought that he could be my. I thought he could be my special
He's
friend.
a very attractive man. Can I tell you
He's
an
quite-
amazing piece of Anthony Daniels trivia?
That he was the voice of Legolas in the Ralph Bakshi film.
I did know that, but it was in the back of my brain. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah,
When we were on set together,
Yes.
I said to him, what's your favorite film? Anthony Daniels' favorite film is Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Isn't that kind of out of left field? Brilliant. But like, not a film that you'd expect. The Godfather, Lawrence Arabia. He's like, Pretty Woman, I think
Pretty
it's a
Woman?
masterpiece. I was like, yeah, go ahead. Of course it's a masterpiece.
Great.
Billy, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Billy, your favorite Star Wars film?
This is probably the wrong day to say this, but I get confused with what one's what. There's too many for me, and I get confused.
What happens in your favorite one?
The Empire.
Well,
Is
that
that
happens
the
a,
third
that
one?
happens a lot.
Is that the
No,
second?
that's the second one. Well, you mean the one in the snow and Yoda?
Yes.
Empire Strikes Back.
I like that one.
Yeah, The Empire Strikes Back. That's the one. Good answer.
You,
I'm sorry
Good
for
answer.
getting it confused, guys.
as a father, Have you gone through that rites of passage thing, or did you, with your son, where you say, sit down, we're going to watch Star Wars?
I tried too early, and he didn't really like them very much. But he liked lightsabers. After watching
I remember he got
he
lightsabers.
wanted to like lightsabers, but he didn't really want to watch the movies.
Has he seen them since?
Yes, he likes them.
Okay, good.
Okay, now here's the thing. Inquiring minds want to know, when that dragon firework exploded and went off, was that really the two of you with some pyrotechnics, or was that a stunt hobbit couple? Stunties were in there for
We
you?
did all our stunts.
We were
of
never a
course.
couple either.
Yes.
Let's just put that to bed right now. We're never a couple. There was a couple of nights. I slept at Billy's house. He slept at mine.
Means nothing.
There's nothing nefarious going on. I think, well, I'm not sure because I think we might have been away when they did an extra shot. But what I do remember is they had the dragon fireworks shoved into the ground and it was on a kind of wire holder. So Pete said it will lift up out the ground, but it will only lift up to kind of just above your head height. Then we'll cut, and then you'll see it exploding into the sky. But in that movement, there was a lot of flare and fireworks stuff
And
going
Pete
on.
didn't tell us. He did say it was going to move, but he didn't say it was going to like
Spark.
spark and
Yeah.
So I
Right.
did get a fright, to be honest, and I did scream. And I've heard the scream that I did is the scream that's in
Yeah, the
film.
scream is excellent.
That's,
he does
you
do.
did scream?
He does do
I
quite
really
a
did.
high pitched
I
scream.
really did get a shock. It was quite scary.
Why didn't they keep the scream in the film?
I think they did.
I think it's in there somewhere.
Okay, that's hilarious. Okay, Miranda Otto.
Yeah, Miranda. Yeah.
What is it like working with Miranda? Because I only had a chance to sing karaoke with her once.
Oh,
At
really?
the Steamboat.
What
At
did
the
she
Steamboat.
sing? Can I have one of these?
You know what?
What did she sing?
Honestly, I don't remember. I really don't. But I remember the cab ride home with Miranda.
I always feel that I always
Sorry.
feel a little.
Did I say that out loud? I actually do remember the cab ride with her.
Well, was it
but I
fun?
don't remember what song she sang.
I always feel a little sorry for the actors that kind of came and went in Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
because, you know, myself and Bill, Elijah, Sean, Orlando, Vigo, to a large extent, Ian McKellen, we're all there. People like Kate Blanchett, who is so fantastic in the film because she was so busy at the time, she would come in for a month and then leave and then come back in and leave. And we couldn't help but be completely immersed by the project. And I think with Miranda, she loved the character so much and she loved the experience so much. I think she would have rather stayed, but we didn't shoot in any kind of order. So
Right,
you know,
right.
she was in and out quite a lot. We had a great friendship. I felt very protective over Miranda because invariably she was the only female member of the cast on set with me most of the time.
Continually, because Liv Tyler was just doing some other shots
Doing her
with,
other things, yeah.
with Hugo weaving and with Vigo, of course.
Right. So yeah, it was brilliant. She's lovely, Miranda, and I had a great time with her. And also, you know, it's that moment of her having her moment, Eowyn having her moment on the battlefield, where she takes off her helmet and reveals that she isn't a man, and she kills the Witch King. It's a big moment in the books, and it's a big moment in the films. But also at the same time, you're trying to crowbar in Merry's story, which has been around for the rest of the trilogy, where he stabs the Witch King, and it's two, relatively important characters in the same scene, kind of having a big moment. And how do you navigate that? And I think Pete found a way to let Merry have a moment, and then obviously let Eowyn have that heroine moment, which, anytime it's like International Women's Day, I put that up on my Instagram. I'm like, this is a great example of the fact that women can roar when they need to.
Yes. Well, Professor Tolkien said in his letters, he said, the only criticism of my book that really bothered me, that pissed me off, was that people complained there was no religion in it and that there were no women in it. And he said, in parenthesis, and that's not true anyways, and it doesn't matter anyways. But yeah, he said personally, when people complained that The Lord of the Rings had no women in it, that was the one criticism that bothered him.
It's a little bit like when people moan about the Beatles.
Yeah.
There's that great quote with Paul McCartney where someone's moaning to him about the White Album, saying, oh, don't you think it's too long? And don't you think you could have made a good single album instead of a double album? And Paul McCartney says, it's the Beatles' White Album. You should be so lucky to get a double album out of us.
Yeah.
And I think the same with Lord of the Rings. If you're picking holes in one of the greatest pieces of literature of all time. You're like spoiling for a fight, really, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a masterpiece. You know?
Spoiling for a fight. That's why I don't wear my Rise of Skywalker shirt in this bar anymore, because people think I'm picking a fight. I'm not picking a bloody fight with any of you guys. But you got one. Bless your heart. Yes. Round of applause for our fans here. Well done. Well done.
Power to the people.
But I literally.
Another question from the chat. Another question from the chat. What's your favorite blooper from Lord of the Rings?
Wait, can you repeat that one more time?
What's your favorite blooper?
Hi.
I really like when and not only do I like this, but I know Dom can do a little impersonation of this.
Oh, don't set me up. What?
I'm sorry, I don't want to set you up.
It's all right.
When Liv as Arwen accidentally stabs her sword into the horse.
Yeah.
In the blooper reel, she says some like
I know what she says.
Elvish, and then she stabs her horse by accident.
Oh no!
So in the movie, what you see is her going, "Nuralim Asfaloth, Nuralim," and then they like race off into the depths of the forest.
Nuralim Asfaloth.
Nuralim.
Yes.
But in one of the takes, she's supposed to kind of hold up her sword and then put it into a scabbard, and like Billy said, she accidentally stabs the horse and goes, "Oh God!" and like flies off camera because the horse gets a fright, and Liv gets a fright. And Liv's one of the like softest, most feminine creatures out there, and she doesn't want to hurt a fly.
Right,
so the fact that she accidentally stabbed a horse, she was mortified. I think any time Liv was on a horse, she was a bit out of her element, wasn't she?
Oh God! She was this Elvish princess, and then
oh God! Meanwhile, what was funny is you get your own horse. Billy and I were shooting for like almost 2 years.
Yeah.
They'll give you the horse that will be your horse, your hero horse, and you'll never be switching between one or the other because obviously there's a hero horse for Sam, there's a hero horse for Aragorn.
Because the actors will build a relationship with these animals.
You build a relationship, but also they want the continuity of, like in the wild, that's what would happen. You wouldn't swap horses with your mate. You wouldn't give your mate your car keys and be like, yeah, let's swap cars on the way back. You have your own horse. So what was like typical and brilliant, but obviously slightly inconvenient, was my horse hated Billy's horse. So we're always next to each other, and my horse would be headbutting Billy's horse, biting Billy's horse, kicking Billy's horse. Oh my God!
Really? Because they didn't get along as well as you guys did.
I think they were both geldings, weren't they?
Yeah, they didn't like each other.
They were in competition with each other.
That explains it.
And they were very big. They were very big horses.
Massive for the hobbits,
Really?
Yeah, to make us look smaller, they got the biggest horses they could find,
That's true.
When we rode back into the Shire,
yeah,
they were huge.
What was that stuff that the Uruk-hai were shoving down your... What was that stuff that the art department made to make you drink? It looked like molasses.
That was you, really.
I think, because I remember asking at the time, I think it was prune juice. Which is another reason why I shat myself on set that day. Do you remember?
Another reason.
It was another reason. It was explosive. It was explosive.
Prune juice?
I think it was prune juice from what they said, because I asked, because obviously Billy's just watching me getting it shoved down my throat, and I was like, well, what is this? Is it safe? They said, yeah, it's like watered down prune juice. But my God, my toilet looked like a Jackson Pollock painting at the end of the day. Whoa, guys, come on. Jokes.
Whoa.
Jokes.
And
it's not true.
If you want more of that, ladies and gentlemen, listen to the Friendship Onion.
Yes, the Friendship Onion.
Listen to the Friendship Onion.
We talk about bowel movements often.
And we'll talk about BMs all day.
I had a question. I guess it's like hard to ask patrons of the bar this question, but like there is such a mirroring of the Lord of the Rings trilogy with the Star Wars trilogy.
Yes.
And I just wondered, in terms of everyone that's here for like May 4th, what are the kind of abiding things that link together that original Star Wars trilogy with the Lord of the Rings trilogy? Because I walk around and people say, oh, whatever, the Lord of the Rings trilogy is my favorite, including the Star Wars trilogy. And I always think it's just a line, but I know people that prefer it. I personally am a Star Wars fan more than Lord of the Rings fan, but that's probably because I'm in it. Do you know what I mean? It's just because I'm in it.
Yeah. Well, the The obvious big connection is that Legolas is C-3PO.
Right.
I mean, for those of us who remember the 70s animation, Legolas was C-3PO. It's Anthony Daniels. But the other connection is that Peter told the folks at New Line Cinema, I want to make these movies as a set. And if it had not been for the success of Mr. Lucas before that, then it probably would not have entered into anyone's mind.
Good point.
So you could probably say that Mr. Lucas was the one who, as the groundbreaker, was like serialized storytelling for cinema. And people are like, oh, they used to do serialized storytelling back in the, the old Flash Gordon days in the 40s.
Right. Well, like, obviously, this is going to be a really easy question to ask, but, like, out of everyone that's here in the bar, like, make a noise if you've seen the original Star Wars trilogy. Pretty much.
In theaters. Raise your hand if you saw the original Star Wars trilogy in theaters. Yes.
Make a noise. Yes. Make a noise if you've seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Saw the Lord of the Rings trilogy in theaters. Okay.
It's about the same.
Yeah.
There seems to be a mirroring in the fact that everyone got so much back from being a Star Wars fan and loving those trilogies that maybe we're all yearning for a new trilogy.
Yeah.
I love trilogy films.
Me too.
But the Before trilogy, fantastic. That Richard Linklater thing.
Have you heard about the Machete Order? Raise your hand if you've heard about the Machete Order of the Star Wars films. No? Nope. You know what I'm talking about. There was a famous blog post that said if you want to watch the prequels and the original films, you could chop sake them in a different order, and you could drop the Phantom Menace entirely. And here's how it works. Machete Order, for everybody who knows how it works. Episode
Everyone
4.
should listen to this. This
Episode
is
4,
very interesting.
A New Hope. And then after that, Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This tells you the story of Luke and his friends and his entry into the rebellion and taking all these new risks for his friends, right? Then there's a cliffhanger, and Han is in carbonite. You don't know what's going to happen next after Empire Strikes Back. And then you go and put the next disc in, and it's Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and then Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And you skip Episode 1 and don't even watch Episode 1 at all. Because, why? I didn't say that. But anyways.
Wait, can I interject for a second?
You sure can. Yeah.
Phantom Menace has a lot of problems. I think some of the marketing with Phantom Menace was some of the best marketing for Star Wars ever. The fact that they had the Anakin shadow showing the Darth Vader shadow on the side of his building.
That was a gorgeous poster.
Brilliant.
That was brilliant.
The story of a little boy is going to turn into Darth Vader. Yeah. How does this innocent, beautiful little boy turn into the most dastardly character in the galaxy? That is a compelling story.
It is.
I think there was a lot of problems with Phantom Menace, but Phantom Menace has a life simply because of the Darth Maul character for me.
Absolutely.
That's an amazing character in the Star Wars canon. And the battles between Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, and that Darth moment Maul. In the trailer where one of the lightsabers ignites and then the second one ignites. It's a double lightsaber.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite moments in cinema ever.
I'll agree. And if you miss out on Phantom Menace, then you'll probably miss out on all the very satisfying storylines that Dave Filoni put together for the fans in the animated series, Rebels and Clone Wars.
Clone Wars is brilliant.
It is. Clone Wars is brilliant. That's true.
Wars.
But the Machete Order is like you start with Luke's story, and then you bounce flashback and do Anakin's story, and then after you do 2 and 3, you come back all the way forward to Episode 6, and you end father and son bringing their story together in Return of the Jedi. That's what it's called.
I love that.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, they have created an incredible galaxy of movies, and I'm a big fan of animation. The color scheme really does something for me. Mm-hmm. And the Clone Wars has some fantastic moments. A great story about Yoda, great stories about droids and the Clone Wars. I just think, like, even, The Mandalorian seems to be much more of a nod back to the original trilogy of films than what we've seen in the recent past, And I love The Mandalorian. I binged it over like 2 days and absolutely love it. Have you seen The Mandalorian, Bill?
This is your bar. This is where you should hang out.
Yeah, this is. This is my geek bar.
This is your geek bar. This is our geek bar, everyone. This is our geek bar. So good.
I loved The Mandalorian.
I love The Mandalorian
I
as
didn't
well.
think I'd like it as much as I did. I liked it because obviously I like the Star Wars sort of world and universe, but more than that, I liked it as a throwback to those sort of shows like The Incredible Hulk or, you know,
Guy.
yeah, where you knew the characters, but there was a different little story every week. I loved that.
I liked it
and
too.
I feel like there wasn't another show that I've seen like that for a long time.
Yeah.
Where I look
Yeah.
forward to see, where are they going to be, you know? Like The Littlest Hobo.
Just like The Littlest Hobo, yeah. I love that show, The
Right.
Littlest Hobo.
Hey, question from the chat. Did you guys have any idea that when you were making Lord of the Rings, it would outperform Star Wars itself?
Yeah, I absolutely knew. As soon as I met this guy, I said, this is going to be the biggest trilogy of all time.
Oh my
No,
god.
we had no idea. I mean, people don't think, but when we were making Lord of the Rings, people were talking like, this could go straight to DVD or video at that time.
Yeah.
No one really thought it was going to be as big as it was.
No.
If we were being honest.
I love what Peter Jackson says about it, where he said it was the biggest independent film of all time. You know,
Yeah.
This was a studio picture with studio money, a massive budget, Hollywood stars. You know, it went on one of the longest filming processes of all time. But you're in New Zealand, and Peter Jackson made it abundantly important to all of us that we're all friends, we're all in it together, we're all going to pull crazy hours, we're all going to make something that feels very personal to us. I mean, I've been lucky enough over the years to be involved in other massive films,
Yeah.
and maybe it's because I was in Lord of the Rings right from the start, but it doesn't have the same personal feeling. And so many people have said to me over the years with
yeah.
Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
that it feels so intimate, it feels so personal, you get to know these people. And that's because, you know, Elijah really cared about Frodo. He really, really cared. Orlando really cared about Legolas. Viggo really cared about Aragorn. I think sometimes when you do a big picture, you're lucky enough to come in and come out.
Yeah.
You might not have the same investment, but, you know, my life changed. I'm sure Billy's life changed as well. We're in New Zealand for 2 years. You know, you got a house over there, you got a girlfriend over there, you're hanging out with different people. Your whole life is encapsulated by making this intimate movie. And with Pete at the helm, there's no studio execs on set. He kept us away from all that stuff. He's just like, do your job, know your lines. We'll turn this into something
What an
special.
amazing advantage you had being on the far side of the world. I mean, you had all the money from Hollywood, but none of the interference from Hollywood, in a sense, right?
Yeah,
That's something of a miracle in
it is,
terms
because
of making a film that size.
If you make it in LA, you're going to have a whole bunch of execs on set. Like, you know, I was in Wolverine, this X-Men movie, with
Yes, you were in that Wolverine X-Men
Yeah,
movie.
with,
yes.
Hugh and Liev Schreiber. And on any given day, there was 3 or 4 exec producers on set, kind of asking the director why he's doing a certain thing. Are you going to do this next? What's happening next? And you could see that obviously it's having an effect on the director.
Okay, yeah.
Pete just would not entertain that. Pete is the type of director. Well, he's the type of person that just would say, look, I'll either make it or I won't. But if one of the ways that I'm going to make it is based around the fact that there's going to be 4 or 5 studio execs on set, I'm just going to walk away because this is not the type of movie that I want to make.
Yeah.
He's way too smart for that, Pete.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, he loves those books. He loves those characters. I mean, you could see Pete being in absolute ecstasy when he's directing Ian Holm or directing Viggo or directing Ian McKellen. And he would say to us over and over again, I think this is a great thing, and Quentin Tarantino touches upon it a few times. Pete would say to us, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I'm tired. I've barely slept. We're doing a night shoot. I'm exhausted. And he would say, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I don't want to be at home. I don't want to be whatever, in a bar or in a restaurant. I'm a director. I want to be on set with you guys. And that was inspirational, huh?
That's
Billy's
fantastic.
nodding, just so you know, for the audio.
That's fantastic.
Billy is nodding.
So, now, why do you think?
Why do birds?
Suddenly.
So go on. No, go on, go
No,
on.
you
Cliff,
guys,
go
no,
on.
break into it. Break in if you're gonna sing. Why?
Billy,
Why do
there's
you
a
think-
bunch of questions from the chat about.
Hold on.
Oh, hang on a second.
Justin is in a cupboard. He's in a cupboard over there shouting
Under the stairs.
things at us.
The chat room wants to know, Master and Commander,
Yes.
how is it working for Russell Crowe?
It was wonderful.
Dish it, dish the dirt, dish it, dish it.
I was pretty much
All right.
seasick the whole time.
I bet.
Here's the.
bet.
I love Russell Crowe. I think he's a really lovely guy. He treated everyone really well. You came down quite a lot.
I went for dinner with you guys and him. He was a gentleman.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy and a great actor, I think.
The rumors are he's
Oh,
in
God, the
Amazon's
rumors.
Lord of the Rings show.
I started that rumor. I like the guy.
No, full
Here's the
beard.
thing.
He's got the full long hair and the full beard, and he's down there, and people are suspecting that Mr. Russell Crowe is in the new Amazon Lord of the Rings show.
Do you
But we
want
don't know
me
yet.
to
We don't
ask
know for
him?
sure. Please ask him.
And then
Yes,
I'll
please.
give you the, what do you call it? When it's the only person who knows.
Exclusive.
Yeah, I'll give you the exclusive.
I'll take the exclusive.
I think that there's
I'll take
so many ways that you can look at the cast of Lord of the Rings and maybe look at alternatives. I think Russell Crowe would have been great as Aragorn, but how do you look past Viggo? You know, it's so strange to even think about someone playing Aragorn other than Viggo.
But what if Russell Crowe is cast as Viggo Mortensen's great Numenorian grandfather?
Because that's what they're saying.
Right,
In
right.
the new
Yeah.
TV show.
I could see Russell Crowe as
I
a king of Numenor.
Definitely.
Sure, I could see him as the king of anything. I wouldn't argue with the man. I would not argue with the
seriously.
man. Didn't you guys play touch rugby quite a bit down there?
They-
That sounds naughty.
there was all sorts of things going on.
Did you not play?
I think I played once. Here's one of the greatest things that Russell did. There was a lot of musicians on set of Master and Commander, and he set up a studio with drums, music, all the guitars and everything. So
Oh,
when
yeah.
we finished work, we could go in there and play music.
Oh, that's
It was
great.
great. It was lovely. And then there was a little bar like this, which I think was called Joe's Bar. And it was a little, and it had nothing in it. Little old TVs and stuff. But the World Cup was on.
Okay.
So Russell Crowe brought down flat screen TVs and the greatest sound system so we could all watch. And I've always wanted to go back to this little bar because we filmed down in Baja, Mexico. And I've always wanted to go back and see if all those TVs and stuff are still there,
Imagine having
That's
that
great.
much cash. Imagine what it must feel like to have that much cash.
You would see if I had a lot of cash, I would buy you something every day.
Yeah, I'm actually in the market for a top hat.
I would buy you.
So if the podcast is a success,
Takes off.
I would love to see some options of a top hat. Don't buy me one. Give me 5 or 6 options. Maybe a velvet top hat, maybe a slightly smaller top hat, oversized top hat, Alice in Wonderland top hat, and then from there I'll choose it.
What do you think about a bowler?
I like a bowler. Have you got a massive head, Cliff? I have a massive head. It doesn't look like it.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Let's have a look. Honestly, my hat is.
Oh, there we go.
Look, it's too small. It's too small. Isn't that
Ladies,
weird?
gentlemen,
That's lovely.
It doesn't
My
look
hat.
like I've got a massive head, but it is massive.
You are looking so Clockwork Orange right now.
I was thinking more Liza Minnelli.
No. Break into cabaret for you.
I would love that.
That's awesome.
It's a beautiful hat. I like the weight of it.
Thank you. When we were filming a parody of the Umbrella Academy,
Oh yeah.
I was cast as Sir Reginald Hargreaves. So this was my hat for Reginald Hargreaves.
I really
in,
enjoy.
It was really funny.
I really enjoy
you,
the
yeah.
Umbrella Academy, and this is a little bit of a side note, but
It was a parody that I did on that, but it's really fun. Yeah.
I think what Elliot Page has been doing over the last couple of months or so is fantastic.
Terrific.
I
Absolutely
mean,
terrific.
you don't have to be public about where you're at in your life and the journey that you're going in. People
Yeah.
can be private. I
Yes.
think what Elliot Page has realized is I have a platform. there's a whole bunch of different people around the world that might be struggling
Yes.
with what I was struggling with, and I'm going to shine a light on it that you can be okay, you can be accepted. And I just
Yeah.
think what Elliot Page has done to basically stick his neck out and kind of walk the harder road is to be applauded.
To be applauded in every step of the way. Yes, absolutely, I agree. with
Good,
that.
good for him. Good for him.
1,000.
It's not easy.
There's-
it's not easy.
This is a lesson you learned from reading The Hobbit when you're a kid, that there's no brave soul who just sits at home looking out of their window, wondering what the world is like outside the threshold of their door. You know,
Right, right.
You'll find that bravery when you step out of your safety zone, when you
Right.
step out of the familiar and put yourself at risk, and all growth is possible then.
Well, wait, Cliff. Let
Lovely,
me,
Cliff,
can
lovely.
I ask you a question? Because
Please ask me a question, yes.
obviously, with your years of being associated with the One Ring and then doing the podcast, Lord of the Rings is an incredibly important piece of literature for you and the film.
Yes.
But what was the point in your life where suddenly you were aware of Bilbo Baggins, you were aware of Gandalf? What happened for you?
To be honest, I didn't read the book until I saw the Rankin
Jesus!
until I saw the Rankin and Bass animation in 1977. So, ladies and gentlemen, 1977 was the year of Star Wars: A New Hope, and it was the year that ABC Network broadcast The Hobbit on television here in America. It went on to win the Peabody Award, and book sales skyrocketed across the country. And my brother and I, we're just little kids, were jockeying for position to get this book between one another. And I could only read it when he put it down, and he could only read it when I put it down. And even though my brother is now passed away, it was this amazing brotherly competition to see who could read it first and fastest. And so that's really where it all started.
That's cool.
It was a couple of little kids who were like, I can read this. And my brother was 2.5 years older than me, and I was determined to show him that I could read at his level.
And that was The Hobbit, not Lord
It
of the
was
Rings.
all
That was
because The Hobbit came on the telly in 1977, and I fell in love with Bilbo and Gandalf from that point forward. That's how it happened.
Lovely.
I invested in a, obviously the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. All in all, is about that big. It's a thick set of books.
Yeah.
I invested in a rice paper edition of the Lord of the Rings trilogy of books. So the entire trilogy is that big.
Rice paper?
Rice paper. It's incredibly delicate.
How
so
can you even touch the
it's
page?
very, very easy to tear. And I
That's
know
amazing.
that at some point in my life, I'm going to disappear somewhere for 6 months
And read your...
and turn my phone off and read it again,
I love
and it will
I
be
love that.
a spectacular experience.
1977 was the year that the Silmarillion was published posthumously
Right.
after, Tolkien had died and Star Wars came out, The Hobbit came out. It was like the biggest year to be a nerd boy, believe me, in the late 70s. It was the best year.
And that's another thing for the podcast, The Friendship Onion with Dom Monahan and Billy Boys. Hello?
The Friendship Onion.
We would also like to hear how The Lord of the Rings has influenced anyone's life, or if they have any, not just the movies, but the books, or watching the Ralph
Yes.
Bakshi, or whatever.
Yes.
We'd also like to hear that. So
Right,
you can
yeah.
leave us a message.
Yeah, leave us a message, and there's a chance that you might be able to come on the show if your message is incredible. Did you have a Lord of the Rings wedding? Did you have someone who you loved who unfortunately passed away who had a Lord of the Rings-based funeral?
Yes.
Did you make friends in Lord of the Rings that have influenced your life? We want to know how this trilogy of books and subsequently the film changed the course of your life, because obviously it changed the course of our lives too.
There's one beautiful couple, and Justin, you're back there. You can back me up on that.
Justin's in a cupboard.
Remember, Justin, we had a couple of people who met each other from England and America, and they fell in love talking to each other in our chat room.
Oh, we've had several weddings,
It's true.
marriages, and children born from the One Ring message boards.
There was...
Look at everything you've done, Justin, and they still keep you in a cupboard. It's an absolute disgrace.
Yes. To
This
remind,
is where they keep me.
It's actually true. There was a gentleman who lived in England, and there was a young lady who lived in Indianapolis, and they were watching my live stream from Meltdown, when we used to be at Meltdown comics down the road. And they chatted with each other for a year and more, and then they fell in love. And then they asked me to go and fly over and marry them as their wedding celebrant.
Wait
for their
a minute.
fishing.
Is this Prince Harry and his wife?
No, it's not
It's
Prince
not those
Harry.
two.
No.
Okay.
Hey,
Just checking.
we've got people in the chat room asking, how do we make sure that your new podcast is successful? How do they support?
Well, what? Whoa! Princess Leia's supporting us, so we're sure to win. Well, what you've got to do is you've got to go where you listen to podcasts, and you've got to
Rate it. So if you give us like a 5-star, at the moment there's no episodes out, it's just a trailer. But if you give the trailer 5 stars, it means it bumps us up and more people see it.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
That's
and then
how
if you want to review it, all you need to do is say it was great or I loved it. Again, that bumps us up to the top of the list. And then if you subscribe, the more amount of subscribers we get, that means that we can do the podcast for longer. We're obviously intending on doing the podcast at all of these conventions. We want guests. We want people to tell us how they feel about the books and the movies. So however way you can immerse yourself in that podcast is going to help us out.
Are we allowed to subscribe?
I've already subscribed.
I was going to today, and then I thought, is that embarrassing?
They won't know. They won't know. No, they
Really?
won't know. They
So
won't
I can subscribe.
do it. Do it.
I was
Can
just
I
about to
rate?
look it up.
Yeah, rate it. Review it.
And
Is
why
it-
didn't you call it Hobbs in a Pod?
Here they are.
It was going to be called Two Hobbs in a Pod.
I'm going to find
Nice.
you on Apple Podcasts.
Do it.
Let's find you
He's
right
just
now.
subscribed.
From our friend Nigel said,
I'm-
what about Two Hobbs in a Pod? But we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just the Lord of the Rings. You know, that we're obviously talking about our lives. And if it's Two Hobbits in a podcast, you're only going to hear stuff from them as the Hobbits. So we wanted to extend it a little bit. Do we have any other ideas for the title apart from the Friendship Onion? I don't think so. Right?
There it is. I just
Not
found
really.
it.
Do
Ladies
it.
and gentlemen, it's the Friendship Onion.
Everyone grab
on
your
the
phone.
Apple
Come on.
Podcast.
Everyone
right
grab your
now.
phone.
I just found it.
Yeah. No. The Friendship
just
Onion.
found it, the
Everyone
Friendship
grab your
Onion.
phone and subscribe to the Friendship Onion.
There it is. I found it. It's the Friendship Onion on the Apple Podcast Store.
Say nice
I
things
just found
about
it
us.
just
maybe
now.
maybe we'll have you on the
That's
show.
fantastic.
You never know.
Latest episode. Oh, I better add a plus sign.
It comes out May 18th, right, Bills?
Following.
Yes,
May 18th.
which will now be the Onion Day.
Oh, and I just rated it 5 stars.
Oh.
I just rated you 5. Does that mean I get a kiss?
No, but you get a piece
I
of
can get
shortbread.
Lovely
Shortbread,
shortbread,
okay.
though.
I'll take the shortbread. Then. All right, that's better.
It is actually.
Is this the energy that you're bringing to the podcast? The
Yeah,
energy
this
today?
is what it's going to be like, right?
I mean, to be fair, there's a bit of alcohol in this energy. So it might be, yes. Always have a drink on May the 4th. Yes, well done, sir, over there. Someone over there just subscribed to the
There you
Friendship
go.
Onion.
Thank
Good
you
for
very
you.
much.
that is so exciting. It's so exciting to have you guys here.
I'm
Now,
excited.
And we will have guests as well. I don't think in the first couple of weeks we'll have guests because we want to establish that Billy and I can hold our own in the podcast. But at some
Yeah.
point in the not too distant future, I'm sure we'll have hobbits, wizards, elves, humans, filmmakers. Cliff, we'd love you to come
I
and
would love to. I
chat
would
to
love
us.
May I? I'd be I'd
Yeah,
love
that'd
that.
be
you
great,
can
We'd
my
love
talk to
friend.
us about your journey through Tolkien's work as well.
I'd be so thrilled to do that. And
That'd be great.
We could talk about the world at large and even the number 42. Coming back to that.
Right.
Coming back to another Hitchhiker's Guide reference. Now, here's what I want to ask. In terms of longevity, you guys got yourselves involved into a legacy piece of storytelling. It will outlast you. It will outlast all of us. What do you think about that power of that kind of modern storytelling? Because Professor Tolkien, was alive in the late 20th century. This is a modern mythology. What is it you think about this kind of storytelling that has such staying power? Why does it stay with us like this?
Do you
The
know
Lord of
what?
the Rings. Why?
For me, anyway, I think.
My guess, if we could have a little modicum of thank you. Shh. Thanks, everybody. Shh. Thanks. Go ahead.
Oh God.
That was quite scary.
I think I think a major part of it was done for love, and it was done for the passion of doing it. It wasn't, in all steps of it. In every part that we've seen Tolkien, and I think for some reason that has been wonderful for Tolkien and that universe, is that obviously he started it that way, inventing, languages, creating the maps, and then having the characters live there. It just comes from such a beautiful, truthful place.
Yeah.
And then it just seems like everyone else who's taken from Tolkien, and I mean that, Bakshi, Jackson, everybody has also came from that place. And somehow everyone else I've met, the Tolkien ensemble who do the music, it all comes from the same place, that they love it and they want it to be magical, and they don't do it as a stepping block to something else.
You're right.
A lot of storytelling.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. Yeah.
And Tolkien was obviously a master storyteller, and he knew those myths, all those European stories, and he took all those and made his own thing. And I think, and I've said this to Dom, and it seems like such a small thing compared to it, but the podcast, I've said to Dom since he first brought up the idea, I said, as long as it's truthful, and we're doing it because we want to do it and we love to do it, and all the things in it are because we want to do it, and the music's us and the stories are us, then I'm 100% in. And we're we're totally about that. And I think that's what Tolkien got,
He was onto something, wasn't he?
Oh my God. And
yes.
Virtually all great pieces of art is because the artist was passionate and wanted to do the thing, whether it's a movie, whether it's a painting. They're not painting to please someone else. They're painting because that's what they had to paint. The movie they made is the movie that they had to make.
Yeah.
That Tolkien wrote the story that he had to write,
Yes. Well,
and I think that's what made it.
He was... Oh, there you go. Oh, hey.
What is that?
Is that...
We're live on Instagram, everyone.
Everyone's
I don't know
on
what
Instagram
that
again.
means.
Of course you know what that means. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, wow.
There's a bunch of people in that chat room that says you get 5 stars if you sing the Green Dragon song.
Oh, no.
I don't even know it anymore.
Hey.
I
You
think.
guys ready?
Which one is it?
Is it the Hey Ho? Hey Ho.
Do you know it?
I don't. I'll follow your lead.
Do you know the dance?
Well,
You
we
ready?
Can, yeah, let's do it.
Hey,
Hey ho, to the bottle I go, to heal my heart and drown my woe. Rain may fall, the wind may blow, but there'll still be many miles to go. Sweet is the sound of the pouring rain, and the stream that falls from hill to plain. Better than rain or a rippling brook is a mug of beer inside this took. I did not know all the
Well
lyrics to
done,
that.
you did very, very good there.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, only here on theonering.net. Only here.
It's a
You know
shame that there's not like a classic Star Wars song. Do you know what I mean?
So beautiful.
You don't, even though there's so much going on in Star Wars, there's not a song that binds them all together. Obviously, you've got Princess Leia singing in the Thanksgiving special, but I think we've all forgotten that.
What? Wait,
moment,
what? You
right?
mean Diane Carroll also had a musical number in the Christmas special? That's right, Diane Carroll. But you know, is there a song that they're singing in Jabba's palace, Lapti Neck? Is that the name of the song? Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah,
have it
okay.
on our playlist.
Okay.
We have the
There's
song
definitely
Lapti
that.
Neck on our. Yeah,
There's definitely that.
that's it.
There you go.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Can I say how good it is to have you here? There's something special that happens with Star Wars because it makes people feel good. It makes people want to be better people. And The Lord of the Rings shares that quality, that you watch The Lord of the Rings and it makes you want to be a better person. It makes you understand things about friendship and testing against your limits and making risks for something you believe in. Something that Star Wars fans and Lord of the Rings fans have in common. All together, I think it's a great community, and everybody thanks you very much from the bottom of their hearts. Everyone thanks you for being part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
It is. Hey, Justin, have we gone over our time yet? Maybe not, but
You know, like in this crazy COVID time that we all went through, and
yes,
I'm sure we've all lost things that we didn't want to and gained, information that we didn't think was going to happen. But it's been really interesting for me over this last calendar year to have, I would say, probably 5, maybe 6 times more people on my social media accounts saying, I had a really rough day and I watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Because
a lot. Hear that all the time.
It is a film about never giving up. It is a film about friendship. It is a film about putting your energy in the right place and pulling for each other. And I think in the year that we all went through that was, tough and tumultuous at times,
yes,
being able to lean back on something where you're like, I know at the end of the day, even though people lose things in that trilogy as well, ultimately, good wills out, and that's what's going to happen to all of us through this COVID experience. We've all had a tough time, but we're going to get through it and we're going to be okay,
Amen to that. Amen. Can I get an amen up in here? So good. It's such a unique pleasure to have been interviewing you for all these decades. I know I'm dating myself, but I've been interviewing you guys for 20 years. Wow. I mean,
crazy.
There was a time I was sitting in the green room and somebody was tossing grapes into your mouth.
Right?
That was,
yeah.
And then it ended up being a peach, and you caught the whole bloody peach.
Were you there
Remember
that day?
I was sitting right there, yes. Wow. Hold on. Gimli and Gandalf, that would be John Rhys-Davies and Ian McKellen, were having a bitter argument about politics.
Yeah, yeah.
They were having a bitter, ugly political argument. At the time, the assistant director was like, would you guys just put your masks and your helmets and things back on and we'll just get back on the set? And then you guys had to climb up on top of that tree.
Right, yeah.
Right? And it was just so crazy being there. And there was a day when the opening of The Return of the King was happening, and I didn't even know you were sitting there on the wall. You're sitting on that wall in that wide shot outside of Isengard, which has been flooded.
Yeah.
Then I get the UHD, the 4K. I get the 4K ultra high def, and then I look again, and I can see the two of you for the first time after 20 years. I finally saw you guys sitting on that wall, and you're just sitting there with, your legs are dangling down, and you're rolling around, having a good old time. I'm like, what is that?
That was great.
It took me 20 years until the 4K appeared, and I finally saw you guys in that wide shot.
That was great. We had so much fun that day because Pete allowed us to do it in a bunch of different versions. So we were like,
right,
we'll do it really drunk. We'll do it really stoned. We'll do it really overly fed, like full. And I think ultimately Pete chose the one where we were really stoned.
Yeah.
I think
Long bottom leaf.
kind of slightly slurring our words. And I love the fact that, obviously we've gone through all of this. We've gone through all of this kind of crazy adventures, but the hobbits revert back to their base setting a lot quicker than the humans do. Right. It's like a dog. Like a dog is in trouble, and then 2 minutes later they're like, "Oh, no worries, I don't really care about." So we've gone through all these adventures, but we're back to square one. Meanwhile, Legolas and Gimli and Aragorn and who am I missing? I think that was it. Or have these furrowed brows, and they show up.
And Gimli.
And we're stoned and we're eating food and they're like, "Oh, you little rascals!" And we're like, "No, we've gone through hell as well, but we revert back to being happier so much quicker than you guys do. You know, it was a choice. It was a dramatic choice. You know?
Did Peter actually say you guys can try during this scene acting stoned?
Yeah, he wanted
yeah,
adults.
yeah.
Okay, now we know it's officially true. All right. Professor Tolkien never wanted pipe weed to be recognized as cannabis.
Right.
But it was Peter's idea. Now we know it was Peter Jackson's idea. Finally,
Yeah.
the secret's out. The secret's out. He's going to come through on your podcast and say, what the bloody hell
Yeah.
you set me up for?
All right, before you go, the chat room wants to say, from Greenland, South Africa, and New Zealand, the chat room says, "May the 4th be with you."
Oh, thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you. That's very
May
sweet.
the force be with you. It was the last thing that I wanted to ask you personally is, are you looking for something else? The next big Lord of the Rings. What's the next big thing? Oh, I know what it is. The next big thing that you guys are trying to do is the Friendship Onion. I figured it out. Figured it out. What's going on up there? Oh, hey.
I'm just looking at us. Lovely stuff.
It really is lovely to have you here, and you've been a part-time resident of Los Angeles for some time, yeah?
Yeah, I've been a full-time resident, to be fair, for like 15 years now.
That's
So
right.
this is where I live, and Billy too, you know.
And even during all the production of Wild Things with Dominic Monaghan, you still had your home base here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had to run around the world
Right.
and get stung and bit and crisped by every damn creature on Earth.
Right.
You had to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have some sort of home base, you know.
Yeah.
But I love traveling the world. I don't necessarily feel like I'm attached to any place in particular. And at some point in the not too distant future, I'm sure I'll do another nature show. There's been so many, you know, the opportunity to travel has obviously been taken away from us this year.
Yes.
Or last year, and it seems to be that maybe we're a few months away from being able to travel the world in the way that we used to, and fingers crossed that will turn into more nature shows for me, because you know the planet is not yet saved, and the environment is not yet safe,
Not yet.
and all of these things that we're messing around with that we think is important is all well and good, but at the end of the day, if you're breathing dirty air and you're living in squalor, it doesn't matter how successful you are. We're all doomed, you know. So
I agree.
we need to make some changes,
It's
and
true.
hopefully that's happening, you know.
Do you know what was amazing was when the dolphins came back to the canals of Venice. Remember that?
I do.
When the waters cleared,
Yeah.
and the dolphins came back to Venice in Italy,
Yeah.
which they hadn't been there. They hadn't bothered to come back from the Adriatic for
Right.
ages and ages and ages.
I-
So just for a period of time, humanity got a glimpse of what it would be like to hit the reset button
Right,
on
what
the
it- what it
entire
could be.
environment when we all had to stay at home.
To live in
Yeah.
a little bit more symbiosis with nature. And, you know,
Yes.
the saddest thing for me about all of this COVID experience
Yeah.
is not that I've had friends that have died, which has happened, or that I've had family that was sick, or that I've lost touch with people that I love. It's the fact that we as humans will revert back to abusing the natural world as soon as we can. You know, the only reason why it's not happening right now is because we cannot fly and we cannot do certain things, and certain levels of industry are just not around. As soon as that becomes available
Yeah.
from a safety point of view,
Yeah.
we will go right back to completely abusing nature. And we had a chance here to learn some valuable lessons. But at the end of the day, money rules the world, and we'll be driven by that financial need, as
Yep.
opposed to the fact that we need air, and we need trees, and we need plants.
Yeah. So let's make air worth money. Like,
Sure.
as soon as someone can sell the air, then it'll be worth, and then it'll be valuable.
It's the only way that you can do it. You financially reward people for being environmentally conscious, and it will change.
It's true. It's true. You have to kickstart
All right.
the system because it won't do it itself. You're quite right.
The
Yeah.
Friendship
Quite right.
Onion is
Oh.
on Spotify, Apple iTunes, podcasts everywhere.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Subscribe, rate it up.
It is time. Is it time for us to say goodnight? It can't be true. It is almost time for us to say goodnight.
Good night.
But you know how I still love you.
Oh, lovely.
It is almost time to say goodnight.
Lovely.
But if I could buy you one more drink. Can I buy you guys one more drink?
Let's do it. It's
All
May,
right,
May
we're
the
gonna buy them one
4th.
more
May
drink.
the 4th be with you.
Thank you.
You guys are really beautiful.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you what, there's a certain quality of friendship that has lasted beyond Merry and Pippin. And it is just embodied in Billy and Dom and Billy. And I'm not going to get, emotional about it, but I've known you guys for a long, long time. And out of all the many, many bright luminaries that I've had to interview, you guys and B-Cake and all the people with you have been the most lovely, lovely people.
That's sweet. Thank
Good.
you.
And you've become friends and family to us at
Thank you.
theonering.net. And thank you again.
Thank you,
Thank you. A
Cliff.
big
Thank
round of
you.
applause
Thank you.
for Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Let's get bladdered.
Yeah! Woo!
Biggest applause of the night.
Awesome. And now as we close the show, I think it's time to remind everyone that you can find theonering.net on all of their social channels. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, Twitter, and your mama and your daddy and your panty granny. You can follow us on everything at theonering.net. And I, myself, Quick Beam 2000. I'm Clifford Broadway. And I am so thankful. Thank you very much. You guys recognize these?
Oh, wow. Millennium Falcon.
They're right here.
Wow, that's so
For our show closer, let's just show everyone a union of the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars fandom forever.
That's very cool.
And to everyone, we say thank you very much for joining us here at theonering.net. We're going to see you next week at 5 o'clock. Next time, I say good night and good luck, and also buenos noches y buena suerte. Thank you, everyone.